This emergency committee has been set up to help in restoring the Port of London to full working life, so that the free flow of commodities, especially those essential to the community, may be resumed in full vigour. It is in the interest of this and every other country that the ships of all nations should find London River a great sea highway and not a disastrous bottleneck. It's in the interest of this and every other country that the ships of all nations should find London River a great sea highway and not a disastrous bottleneck.
The trouble in the London docks arose out of mistaken loyalty to some Canadian seamen and has no relation to any industrial dispute either in Canada or in this country. Causing great harm to the commerce and trade of the nation, the loss of trade, hold-up of foodstuffs, loss of prestige, and likely to inflict a mortal blow to the country as a whole in its hour of need. Mr. President. Well, I'm waiting for him now. Am I giving the signals there? The loss of trade, the trouble in the London docks arose out of mistaken loyalty to some Canadian seamen, and it has no relation to any industrial dispute either in Canada or in this country. Causing great harm to the commerce and trade of the nation, loss of earnings to dock workers, loss of business, hold-up of foodstuffs, and likely to inflict a mortal blow to the country in its hour of need. Is that better? Owing to the lack of a lead to the strikers who are among the finest workers in the country and who have served it well in war and in peace, the National Dock Labour Board felt that as the titular employers of the dock workers of the country, it was the board's duty to give a lead and put an end to the growing harm to the country. To this end, the National Dock Labour Board issued a statement, that in no case would they interfere in a strike arising out of a breach of accepted trade union agreements and practices, and warning the men that by the continuance of the strike, they were likely to kill the scheme, and to this end, to this the government took exception. So the strike goes on. Now that wasn't... I'll wait for your snap. To this end, the Dock Labour Board issued a statement that in no case would they interfere in a strike arising out of violation of any accepted trade union regulations and agreements and practices. To this the government took exception. So the strike goes on. To this end, the National Dock Labour Board issued a statement that in no case would they interfere in a strike arising out of the violation of accepted practices and agreements, and warn the men that by their action, or shall I say inaction, they were likely to kill the scheme. And so the strike goes on. I want to put in there, to this the government. To this end, the National Dock Labour Board issued a statement that in no case would they interfere in a strike arising out of the violation of accepted practices and agreements, and warning the men that by their continued action or inaction they were in danger of killing the scheme. To this, the government took exception. So the strike goes on.
First and foremost, I would like to say that this morning there will be some important revelations, and that we sincerely ask the audience to respect the chair, to give the speakers fair... God love us, his books out on it, all over the place. All the overbearing methods that are at their disposal, national or international, is not dead. And those brothers who supported us by taking strikes, which are under attack not only in Britain, but from the workers the world over. We have given Mr. Harry Davis, President of the CSU, who has just returned from the National Conference of Seamen and Dockers on the continent.
Canadian seamen who are on strike throughout the far-flung ports throughout the world, I bring you their greetings, as well as their thanks and deep appreciation for the internet. Notwithstanding the report, the recommendations of this conciliation board, our union did everything in its power following that report. Received the support of dockers and promise made by our Canadian Deputy Minister of Labour, Mr. McNamara, some 10 days ago, and which was published in the press, that if our union would call off the strike, he would utilize the machinery of the Department of Labour to bring both parties together after the strike. We are accepting those promises, and for the reasons outlined, we are going to terminate our strike as of Monday. However, our struggle throughout Canada and the rest of the world is going to continue, because I want you to know one more thing, brothers. We are not carrying this prolonged struggle out of some sheer stubbornness or willful determination to hurt anybody. But I think you should know that in every attempt to negotiate a settlement of the dispute with the government, who represented the employers when we met them in Ottawa, they have even refused, fellow workers, to guarantee that Canadian seamen shall ever have the right to sail again. And some 2,000 Canadian seamen, those boys who sailed throughout the war years, are facing permanent victimization of the industry at the expense of the blacklegs and the scabs that are now sailing the ships. Respects and
all resolutions remain to the end and questions. Of the feeling of the audience denotes that this should be read, namely, that Lord Ammon be dismissed as chairman of National Board and members of the London Board on the workers' side be elected from the rank and file as in Liverpool. And this, brothers, is going to be an answer to these people who seconded to that brother's first. And the seconder of the resolution, all those in favour of the resolution signify in the usual manner. Somebody suggested counting them, I don't know. All right, brothers, down. Now go on, my lads, get it.
One out, all out. For the last 3 or 4 weeks they've been saying I'm locked out. But if there's any man victimised over this, then we're going to be striking and striked out. Who knows what they'll try if we go back on unconditional surrender. It's not going to be unconditional surrender, brothers. As Brother Davis has said to you, that wonderful man I wish he's in charge of all of us here, he said to you this.
Holiday with pay to function at once. What's this? Hold it.
And no further lockout to be tolerated.
Holidays with pay to function and no further lockouts will be tolerated. That is the full text of the resolution, brothers. Well, I'm going to move that resolution. I'm going to... In view of the Canadian Seamen's Union decision. Now, some brothers say speak up. I'm not... You've all heard the resolution, and you all know the text of it. To read it again. The move of the resolution is...
Committee recommend all members to return to work 7:45 in view of the Canadian Seamen's decision to turn the Beaver Bray and the argument white. That's all you want. Now, is there a seconder in the crowd for that? Only one. No victimisation. You heard what I said before. If there's any case of victimisation, then there will be a strike. We're going to black poultice vans throughout the country. If they haven't got a union, I've said. Right. All brothers against, please show. Right, and I put my head up with them in a way, but still. They all have never before, so I can see by their eyes.
So we got proof of the men not getting the sack, and that's it.
Well, brother, we have implied that in our resolution.
Thoroughly.